This is part 2 of the Modena Wick Trader trending baseline strategy. So we're going to apply the same settings as we did in the previous video, all but one setting. So we're going to use the space out entries. And I'm going to select that as 33. So again, you can also choose whichever value you want here. So I'm just going to be adding the space out entries, and I'm going to keep the target the same. So let's run that on the PlayBack Connection, and I'll post a slide of the settings as well. Okay, so starting the playback, and again I'll just let it run. Let it enter the first few positions, and then we'll just look at what it has done, and then let it fast forward to the end. Okay, so what it's going to be doing now is it's going to be entering positions based on that same retracement value, and if I pause it just over there, we're going to see that there's currently 3 positions in play, and there won't be a gap of less than 33 ticks between these entries. So the price still has to retrace that specific value that we've selected, but it's not going to be within 33 ticks of each other. Now, when you are using the setting to space out the entries, you can actually reduce the value of the retracement. So even if you have a 2 retracement in your settings, it will enter a trade based on the 2 retracement, but it will have to go past the 33 tick value and then do another 2 retracement and then enter a position. So it will still space out those entries, no matter how much your value of your retracement is. So that is just something to know as well. If you want to have all those entries spaced out evenly across that wick, you can actually choose the gap between those entries. Okay, so I'm just going to let this run on fast forward, and you can watch as it goes. Okay, so that was running that optimization, or running that strategy, should I say. So we look at the strategy performance first of all, and have a look through the settings. So as you can see, there's a lot fewer positions. There were 117 in total, and the profit was 23 and the drawdown was 20. So not the absolute greatest results from that. So started off with a losing day, and then made those over the following day. So you can just see by separating or putting space between the entries, it's definitely going to limit the amount of trades being entered, and but it's also gonna help with the losses. It's not going to create a situation where you're gonna have a lot of positions on one specific wick. So like there, for example, there were 3 losing positions. So 3 losing positions, so 3 or 4 losing positions when a baseline breaks. So you can see there was 1, 2, 3, there were 5 in that situation, and 3 over there, and so on. So a lot fewer, a lot smaller losses when it comes to a baseline breaking. Now you will notice too that with the positions being entered, so let's have a look at this section over here. So what it does is, with the space out entries, it's going to keep a record of the levels of price that the trades were entered. So that was the first level over there. I'm going to try and draw this out. I haven't done this like this before. So that was the first trade entered. This is the second trade entered. This is the third. And I'll just plot these. I'll draw the next ones too. So that's the fourth. That's another one entered there. Then we had another one entered over there. And another one entered over there. So if I draw that across, let's just see if I can get a straight line. Over there. It might not be 100% accurate, but we'll lay it out anyway. And a trade over there. So the idea behind this is it keeps a record of all the different levels that it's been trading at, and these should all be a minimum of 30 ticks in distance from each other. So all of those trades, because remember it's working off the retracement value, but it's still keeping a record of the levels, the previous price levels that the positions were entered in. And I think there was another one in between there. Let's see if I can get this one lined up. Okay, so that one for some reason looks like it's a bit closer. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Oh, you know what? It's showing profit target. And also sometimes playback does play up a little bit, and we are dealing with ticks on tick move, but that is the gist of it. It's only going to enter positions spaced out. So again over there, it's entered the position. It's entered a position, and the next position was at least 33 ticks up. And then these should all be a minimum gap of 33 ticks between them, which it looks like it is. This one obviously looks like 33 also, but let's check that one. It's in the 40s. The last trade over here, there was a gap in that one of 119. So the price obviously ran up, and that was the first time it actually retraced to a value to enter into a position. Now, it did not enter any trades in this zone over here. So if you look at this wick, you're wondering why there's no trades on this wick, and that is because there are trades already in that zone. So it's not going to enter more positions because there's already positions there. So that's what happens with the space out. So it's making sure you're not getting entered multiple times within a specific price range of 33 ticks in this example. So quite a smart strategy in that regard. And like I said before, you can basically segment the wick as much as you want. You can choose specific zones to trade on the wick. So there's quite a few different things you can do with this. So I've really tried to make it as out there as possible with regards to different options that people can experiment with. And I think with all of these different features being added into it, it makes it quite an interesting strategy and extremely profitable if you can get it done. Okay, so I'm going to run this I'm going to run the playback again, and I'm just going to go and change some settings and run that as the next one. The slide that you just saw now was the settings for the next playback that I'm going to be running. So I've got a 10 retracement, and I'm still using the minimum distance as 33 ticks, and I'm still spacing out the entries by 33 ticks, but this time I'm using a fixed target to the baseline. So when I select that fixed target, so if I select the box and I put my value in there and I enable the strategy, what it does is it actually tells me on the buttons that I have selected it. So it's saying start trending baseline, target to baseline 10. So that's the 10 I've selected in there. If I disable the strategy and I do not select that fixed target and I choose to use the 300 target and I enable the strategy, it's going to basically tell me that I have selected 300. Okay, target per entry 300. So the buttons are really helpful to just as a double check point where you can make sure that what you have intended to select in the strategy settings are actually loaded in the strategy. Okay, so I'm going to load that up, and I've also queued up the connection with the playback data. So I'm going to run and play that now. So we'll see what happens with this once it gets going. Okay, so what it's done is it's entered a position immediately. So it retraced 10, entered a position. Now the next position is only going to enter after 35 ticks have passed. Okay, but importantly with this setting, we're targeting to the baseline. So wherever these entries are occurring on this wick, every single one of them are going to be targeting that specific target point, that target ticks. So there was the next entry over there. So this specific entry is also going to be targeting that point, which is 10 ticks away from or 10 ticks to the baseline. So there's a third position. So all of these positions are still going to be spaced out, just like it was intended to, so by a minimum of 33 ticks, but every single entry is going to exit on the baseline. We did this one already, didn't we? Yes. So as an example, the first trade is going to make 155 ticks profit. The second trade is going to make 78 ticks profit. I'm just trying to get this thing. Yeah. Why can't I select that? Yeah. Okay. All right. And then the third trade is going to get this value here, 38 ticks. So that's what's going to happen with this strategy. Every single entry is going to exit at the exact same point, whether it be the target ticks or the stop ticks. So that's what's going to happen with this specific strategy. So it's going to trade. It's going to space out the entries, and I'll just fast forward this a little bit. So there we go. So the positions exited all at one point. So if you notice over there, they all exited their profit target on one point, and so basically made $1,300 just on that one wick. So there's wicks happening all the time. So that is what we are trying to do. With this specific approach, targeting to the baseline is just trading that specific wick to the baseline. Now there is some sort of a little glitch with the PlayBack connection with regards to this feature, and on occasion what happens, and it happened over there, is it enters a position and then it exits almost immediately, and that only happens on the PlayBack connection. I don't know why that happens, but it doesn't happen with real-time data. Anyway, that is the next position that entered. So what it's done is it's gone and set itself a profit target, which is 10 ticks to the baseline. So it's going to have 106 tick profit. And if this specific trade had to jump out, that will be the loss. So that's what's going to happen with this. Now, bear in mind that it has, because that trade exited over there, it doesn't have to be 30 ticks distance to the next position. So when these trades exit, then whatever happens on the next wick is actually going to enter positions like it was. So it's not going to keep the record of the previous trades because they've all been exited already. So that's what happens with this strategy. I can play it on a little bit more. So there it's entered a few more positions. So now it's entered 3 positions. It would have actually been 4 positions if this one didn't glitch out. And they're all going to either hit their stop or their target. So there's no use me running this whole thing through because unfortunately these trades are not reflecting as they should. But you're welcome to run this on live data and you will see that that does not happen at all. Okay, so that is that part of that strategy. So I'm actually going to go and disable that specific one like that. And I'm going to clear this. And let's look at another feature in the strategy. So we can just go through the last features while we're doing this. So I'm going to select a 33 retracement on this one just to keep it uniform, again back to those original settings. Let's try the ATM strategy. So we haven't even looked at the ATM strategy yet. So let's set 100 and 100. So we're going to let the strategy trade based on a retracement level. Now when you select the ATM, the targets and the stops within the strategy do not mean anything because the ATM is going to completely take over that position. So let's go and activate the strategy by selecting that ATM in the setting. So I've selected the ATM. I should actually adjust these buttons to say ATM in use. I might do that on a future update. But we want to see what the ATM feature does. Remember, the ATM that's been selected is the 100. So I've created an ATM that's basically 100 ticks. So there we go. So that's what's happened. It's entered a position and it has created its target as 100 and it's created its stop as 100 ticks. So that is what it's done. So the price retraced according to the retracement like it would. The strategy submitted an order to the ATM feature in the chart trader, and now the ATM is in complete control of that position. So if we had to carry on playing this, we can now go and move the stops and targets if we want. So the only time you can move your stops and your targets is if you have selected the ATM inside your strategy. So this is what you can do, with this feature. Now, what happens is as soon as the strategy has submitted an order to the ATM, it pauses the strategy. So that means it's not going to enter any more positions until you go and click start again. So if for example you want to get into another position right now, you can press the start button, and what will happen is it will do the retracement again. So the price has to retrace the 33 ticks from when you press the start button. And what will happen, it'll retrace those 33 ticks. I'll speed it up a little bit. So there we go. So it retraced 33 ticks. It's now in its second position, and immediately it's paused. And I've explained this before, but we have to pause the strategy because we do not know, the strategy does not know what the result is of this position, because the ATM is you're able to move the stops and the targets. So the ATM feature, the ATM strategy does not communicate back with the automated strategy. So we've got our 2 trades in at the moment. Again, it's paused. You can go and choose now if you want to restart it again, if you want to enter a new position, and you want to work with your stops and your targets. So, and that is what this would be for. So we'll just let it trade a bit. It's going to wait till the price retraces 33 ticks. Again, whatever setting you've put in your strategy, that is the one that it's going to use. And you're also going to notice that when the ATM is entering positions, it's not going to plot anything on the chart. So you can't actually even see your plot points on the chart unless you go and duplicate in a new tab. Let me just see. Or even a new window. Yeah, if you duplicate in a new window, it'll show you your actual entries, but not on the chart where you've got the automated strategy loaded. So it's a little bit backwards to me, this whole ATM feature. I don't know why it cannot be integrated into a strategy, but at this stage it cannot. And to see the plot points, you really need to have it on another tab. And also, if I go and exit these positions now, if I go and exit these positions, whatever is happening with this ATM, so let's just get those positions exited. I'll let them touch their stops. So all the positions are exited. Now if you go and you right click and you go strategy performance real time, you're actually going to just see blank. It's all going to be blank because the strategy has no idea what's happened to those positions. So that is the upside and the downside of using the ATM inside the strategy settings. I have put it there because people have requested that feature to be able to move their stops and targets once entries have been entered. So that's the only reason why it's there. Otherwise, I'm a firm believer in letting the strategy run itself. And if you would like to use stops and targets, you can actually go and select stops and targets in your strategy, which is, let me just see. Well, you've got your basically target points, or your targets per entry, or your fixed spot to the baseline. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is the trading hours. Okay, so let's look at the trading hours. So we're going to specifically select trading hours to trade. So I'm going to select using time slot 1, using time slot 2, and let's leave the fixed target off. We just make it 300 ticks profit. So I'm going to select from, let's go from 12, actually let's go from 12:15 a.m. So 12:15 a.m. to 3 a.m. Let's go to 3 a.m. So 12 to 3. Okay, and then let's go from 9 p.m. So 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay, so those are the hours that it should be trading. So 12, 11 to 3, and that. So let's go and activate that. So keep a mental note of that. So 12, let's make it 12 exactly. So 12 to 3 and 9 to 11. Let's see if that actually works. So I'm going to apply that and click on OK. And in the strategy settings, if I have not, the auto start is selected. Okay, so the auto start, the box has been selected, so it should go green between those trading hours. 12 to 3, 9 to 11. So let's fast forward it and we'll watch the time. Okay, so there we go. So it's gone green, which means that we're within the PM hours, which is 9 till 11. And there we go. So you notice what happened there? It entered positions and then it said outside trading hours. So it went past 11. So if I look at the strategy performance in real time, we look at the trades, we've got the entry time. So there we go. So 1 second past 11, it actually exited the position. So it's very good in that respect. It's going to enter 1 second past the hour. It's going to close off any open positions and give you that message on your chart. Okay, so let's continue with the hours. What happened there? Oh, we've gone to AM. Okay, so there we go. We've gone to 12 AM. So the next one has actually started. And that's traded up until, so let's have a look. Let's look again at those specific trades. To 3 a.m. you see, so 11, so 9 till 11 and 12 to 3. So only within those specific hours is it going to enter trade. So we're watching it now. I'm not sure why these lines are off. Maybe it's got to do with the strategy not being enabled at that specific time. Let's just see. Okay, so it's between those hours now, so it should be entering positions, and it's outside the hours. So maybe I just used too short of a time frame. Now it's midnight. Actually, let's just well, we can let's just run for a little bit longer. So there it hit its profit target. I'm actually going to just pause this and we'll look at the, actually let's just let it run. I really should have just adjusted the time slot on this one. So I'm going to pause the strategy, and when you pause the strategy, it's going to tell you that the strategy is paused over there on the top right. You can go into the strategy settings. So those were the results of that specific time. So I'm going to just go into the strategies, the settings, And I'm actually just going to change these times that I put in there. So that's basically working from PM to AM. Unfortunately, it does close off the position. So this is the way you can trade from PM to AM, but it's going to exit the position. So let's start the next trade from 12 AM till 6 AM, and let's work this one from 8 PM to 10 PM. So let's choose those specific trading hours, enable that, and then see how that does. Completely random hours are selected in there, and start the strategy, and let's see how that goes. So there it's entering positions outside of the hours. We are on a large chart. Let's see. So it's not within trading hours, so that's why those lines are off whack. As soon as it's within the trading hours, it's going to all line up. So I think that's what happens with the strategy. It's only going to start monitoring the bars once it's within the trading hours. That's why these lines are not where they should be. So there we go. Now it's within the trading hours again. It's entering the positions. And outside trading hours. So within the trading hours, it's running, it's entering positions. A third position that it's entered. Those have hit their profit target. A fourth position has been entered. It's continuing trading. This should close at 6 AM, right? That's the setting we've got in there. And there we go, outside trading hours. So it closed off all those positions that were open. So a really neat feature for the strategy is having those trading hours. So there's quite a few things that you can actually use. And I think we've actually covered all the settings of that strategy as it stands. I'm just going to quickly run through them just to make sure we haven't missed anything out. So we've got the max entries, the markers, the time slot on each tick. We are good. We are good. So the entries per direction that you got at the bottom, that can just be a higher amount, because as long as it's a lot higher than your max entries per direction, because if you have these at the same value, it's going to basically impact this max entries per direction, and it might just, so we just put this out of range so that it doesn't come into play. If you, so that's how this strategy is designed to work. So work with this one, experiment with the different trading hours with different settings like we've gone through, and I hope this has actually given you some ideas on how to work with this strategy. And a final note on this strategy, the Modena Wick trader strategies, and any of the Modena Wick trader strategies, they're not specifically designed to just be a set and forget strategy. So we're going to go through different ways of trading this, in the sense of starting it and stopping it at specific points. But this video was really just so you can get to understand all of the features of the strategy and then start working with them. Great. I'm going to make the next videos, and that's going to do, I'm actually going to cover the reverse trending baseline strategy. So that is very similar to the trending baseline, but the only difference is it trades the opposite direction, and I think it's got a few less features because of that. Okay, thank you, and see you on the next one.